Hello, Panthers fans, and welcome. We are talking trade deadline 2022, and the Cats very busy this year. But first, we want to give you guys a little bit of an insight into the trade deadline itself. I'm Katie Gaus, joined by Randy Moller and Doug Plagens. And guys, for the fans tuning in to watch this, explain a little bit about what the trade deadline is, what it means, and what teams are looking for, both as buyers and sellers.
Well, the trade deadline for NHL, the NHL and their teams, it's an opportunity. They decide before teams whether they're buyers or sellers, whether they've got a chance or they're trying to regroup and get ready for next year. That's why you see a lot of teams that are maybe not going to qualify for the playoffs continue to build. They'll try and trade and make some trades for some players and get some draft picks and get some assets back in order to look forward to next year. Now, it wasn't too long ago, Katie, that the Florida Panthers were in that situation where they were acquiring assets to look forward to the next year and the year after. Fortunately for the Panthers and their fans, they were buyers at this trade deadline, and boy, did they go out and spend and buy some good players.
It's an exciting time for everybody because you have obviously a team like the Panthers looking to add, looking to bolster a lineup that, well, a team that they hope to have, some long-term postseason aspirations. But at the same time, there are teams looking to recoup draft picks. There are teams looking to recoup salary cap space. And that was another thing that was a big factor in this year's deadline with the cap the way it is and going to be flat moving forward. There are teams looking to adjust their salary cap situation. So this time of the year, it's not just the contenders that are active at the deadline. Everybody goes into this point in the season with an opportunity to assess what they have and then prepare for the summer, of course.
And for the Panthers, obviously, a few areas that every team, wants to really hone in on and address. Doug, when you look at this trade deadline, what were some of the main areas that you feel like the Panthers wanted to and did address?
Well, they went into it. Bill Zito said as much when he talked to the media after the Ben Sherratt acquisition. He said that getting a defenseman was something that was at the top of the shopping list. And I think everybody looking at it, going into the playoffs, of course, you can never have too much defense. And the Panthers were able to address that. Ben Sherratt was the guy that got the headlines, but picking up Robert Haye as well. He's a guy that does a lot of different things. He plays with an edge to his game. He's a sound defensive player who's been around, knows his way around the rink. The Panthers have a lot of capable defensemen. They have defense depth now that they didn't have at this time 1 week ago.
And that was before Aaron Ekblad suffered that unfortunate injury on the last game of that road trip and in Anaheim. And I've said it so many times, guys, that there's never been a team that has won the Stanley Cup over the last 40 years that have done it with 6 defensemen and 12 forwards. It doesn't happen.
Need everybody.
You have to have that depth. There's going to be injuries, and you need everybody. The Panthers, I think Bill Zito, he loved his team before he made these 3 trades, but now he realizes that he has the team that's going to go into battle, and they're looking for a long run in the playoffs.
And in mentioning, obviously, the forward the Panthers acquired in Claude Giroux, Bill Zito said it best. They got a player who's a great face-off guy, one of the best face-off guys in the league. He can play both ends of special teams. He's a leader. He's experienced. He's seen the playoffs before, but he's hungry and wants to win. And as he put it so eloquently, other teams were looking to acquire multiple players to fill these roles. The Panthers got it all in one nice, neat package in the form of one of the best players in the game, Claude Giroux. So the Panthers were able to address everything they could have needed right here at the deadline. And while it was tough to see a guy like Frank Vatrano go, I know he's got a lot of fans in the market, and I know that he was a guy that was great to us, and we loved watching him play. The fact that Bill Zito was able to add these pieces and only lose one active roster player, that took some creativity and job well done.
Yeah, and we heard him talk about it, how important the chemistry of this team and the relationship that they have all formed throughout the last few seasons with each other is. You have to be careful when you're tinkering with those things. They have a really good recipe that's cooking for them right now, and he feels confident that every guy he's bringing in is actually just making it even better. But we'll talk about everyone, but to kick it off, Randy, talk to me about Claude Giroux, what he brings to this team, where you see him fitting in, and just, how much of an impact that he can have. I know we've already started kind of licking our chops at the idea of him playing alongside Sasha Barkov.
Yeah, and like Doug said, he checks a lot of boxes. That's a cliche, but he really does. This is a player that is really at the prime of his career. He's 34 years old, but he's never really suffered too many injuries throughout his career, so they don't have to worry about that. He's a right shooting forward that can play all three forward positions. And where the Panthers are looking for as well is he's the third best face-off percentage guy in the NHL this year. The Panthers are 26 in the face-offs. They wanted to address that. They did in getting Giroux. He's right-handed shot. The Panthers don't have a whole lot of right-handed shots, especially on the power play. So now he can play on either side. He can also play the point on the power play and be very, very effective. We all know that he's a power play specialist. But I think it's the intangibles and the things that you don't see on the that are off of the stat sheet. He is so motivated to win. He's had a great career. It's a Hall of Fame career. He's got over 900 points. He's played 1,000 games. He wants to win the cup. We've seen in the history of the NHL, especially lately, the Ray Bourque going from Boston, an icon in Boston, going to Colorado and finally winning that elusive Stanley Cup. Giroux is in the same category right now. He wants to win, and I love his attitude. He's told the management, he's told the coaching staff, hey, play me where you want. I just want to help the team get to the next level. And that's all anybody wants to hear. And I think it's very genuine.
Yeah, you can't put a price on that versatility. He's going to take some very important face-offs in the playoffs, and he really takes a lot of weight off the shoulders of Alexander Barkov in that department that now the Panthers have a couple of guys that are upwards of 55, 56% in the circle. Yeah.
And looking at the defensive side of things, some people saying that the Sherratt pickup is maybe one of the most underrated moves that happened throughout this entire trade deadline. But what he brings in, and I liked how Zito told us that, he went to the Stanley Cup final and it was against Tampa. So he's played him. He's got that playoff experience. He's got a little Tampa experience. He's maybe a little chip on his shoulder from that himself. So what do you like, Doug, about what he brings in terms of not just adding to the defense, but maybe that playoff mentality that, we could use?
Well, you can't teach 6'3", 230.
Yeah.
He's a big man. He's tough to move. He can play with anybody. He fits that mold where he could work with any combination you want to put him with out there. He's battle-tested. He's played, I believe it's something like 56 playoff games in his career. He was a part of a deep run last year, so obviously he's got that hunger, as you mentioned. He can chew up minutes. I know Montreal hasn't been having a banner season this year, but he's proven this year that he can hog a significant role. He's playing 23 minutes a night or so. He's probably not going to have to play 23 minutes a night as a member of the Panthers. He has that skill set if he needs to do it. But again, it's a guy who's hungry, who fits the mold. He plays a playoff brand. And look at some of the guys that the Tampa Bay Lightning have. This is a team that the Panthers are going to have to go up against more than likely. Even with some of the guys they've just acquired, they have some big bodies. And they've got, obviously, the big star players. They play a heavy brand, and they got heavier here at the deadline. Ben Sherratt's going to come in handy, no doubt about that.
Well, and a couple things that come to my mind with Ben Sherratt is, number one, and Bill Zito mentioned it on draft day, or on the trade deadline day. He said, our top four defensemen are logging too much ice time, right, and this is going to level out a lot of the ice time. And what for the fans, what that means is if you don't want Aaron Ekblad and Mackenzie Weegar playing 27 to 30 minutes every night, that's very taxing on anybody. It doesn't matter what player. The other thing is, Ben Sherratt is not considered a Norris Trophy candidate as the league's best defenseman. He's maybe not excellent in one thing or whatever, but he's very good in a lot of different areas. He's big, he's strong, he's got a great first pass, he's physical, he can play against top lines, he can eat up a lot of ice time, Doug, that you said. There's a lot of things that he does very, very well, and they did their homework on this guy. They what type of person is he going to fit into this tight locker room that the Panthers have right now? And they're very confident that he is going to blend in perfectly. He's going to play the team game. And like we talked about with Claude Giroux, he's motivated. He had a taste last year where he went to the Stanley Cup Finals with the Montreal Canadiens. He saw and stood at that blue line when they handed out the Stanley Cup to the Tampa Bay Lightning. You don't think he's motivated, that he wants to get back in that circle? Absolutely, he is going to be a big addition, and I think he's going to be a fan favorite as well.
We mean this as a total compliment, Randy, going off what you just said. Ben Sherratt, maybe not a Norris Trophy type defenseman, but a guy that can be partnered with a Norris Trophy type defenseman and help that player get the most out of his game. You can put him with anyone. It's a great move for the Panthers.
And every team in the NHL would like to have a player like Ben Sherratt. And the Panthers, kudos to them. They were able to do it without crippling their existing lineup. That was the key, and they were able to succeed.
And the last new face joining this Cats roster, Robert Haye, coming from Buffalo. And obviously, like you mentioned, Randy, you can never have too many, depth players when you want to go on a long playoff run. But to bonus it, it's also a former teammate of Giroux who played with him in Philadelphia. So again, more chemistry, just, another testament to how much extra work was put in behind the scenes to make sure that every single piece fit really well.
Yeah, he's kind of a late bloomer. He played a bit in the American Hockey League after he came over from Sweden and played with Philadelphia and then with Buffalo, and really developed his role. He's 27 years old. He's over 6 feet. He's over 200 pounds. He's got a little bit of an edge on him. He's willing to play a physical style. He blocks a lot of shots. In Buffalo, he led the team in hits and led the team in blocked shots when he was traded to the Florida Panthers. That says enough for me that he's going to be a warrior, and that you can't say enough about the defense and the depth on defense. I think the Panthers, especially with the injury to Ekblad, I think a guy like Haye is going to get an opportunity and really get comfortable with the system this last stretch before the playoffs start.
He's been around the league. He's not an old guy, but he's been around the league. And he knows how to play. He's seen the Eastern Conference plenty. That's where he's spent his time in his career. And Randy, as you said, he's a gamer. He shows up, he registers those stats that don't necessarily show up on the box score, if you know what I mean. Yeah. He's willing to do the dirty work, and a skill set that isn't much different from the skill set that Ben Sherratt brings to the table. So again, it never hurts to have a surplus of defensemen, especially when you're a team like the Panthers that is planning to go on a long run.
When we talk all about the Panthers being buyers this year, but a big part of that is the fact that they put themselves in a position to do so. And just sort of to wrap up at least the discussion on all the new acquisitions, as a player in the room, when you're seeing your team going out and making those pickups and really committing and going all in, what does that say to the group, and how much more motivating is that as you head down the stretch?
I think you just said it, the commitment. The commitment from the ownership of the Florida Panthers, the management, Bill Zito, the general manager, and his staff, saying, we recognize that we have an excellent team here that could go all the way by themselves. But he says, I want to make sure that we plug every hole and give every opportunity to this team.
Yeah, and he talked about the fact that they were bringing character people. That was a big part of this, and they wanted to make sure that team element stayed intact. Yesterday at practice, we asked Radko Gudas and Anthony Duclair about exactly this topic. It's a vote of confidence from the organization, and it sends just a jolt of excitement through the entire room.
And not just the entire room, but to the fan base as well. Guys, to wrap up this panel, we've covered a lot of topics, but just what are some of the final thoughts that fans should be thinking as they head into the last stretch of the season and then playoffs?
Well, they should be excited, and the Panthers, the talent level that they exhibit every game, and now that they've added to that, is going to be a lot of fun. The Panthers are one of the hottest teams on the power play right now. They've scored 13 power play goals in the last 10 when we recorded this. That should even increase. And the fans, they score so many goals here in their home arena. That is going to be the exciting part.
It's a Panthers team that we know can score goals, and they've gone out and addressed the other parts of the game in addition to it. All they've done is take a pretty well-rounded team and make it even more well-rounded. And I know now the deadline is in the rear view. We can look ahead. It's not an if, but a when this team gets into the Stanley Cup playoffs. I know we can't wait to see what happens.
Well, Bill Zito said it himself. It's not just the sunshine and the nice weather that makes people want to come to Florida. It's this team and their will and compete level and the chance to win. So we certainly look forward to seeing what the new acquisitions and the rest of the season has to bring. Guys, thanks so much for all your insight. And Cats fans, we'll see you real soon.